Hello and welcome, beautiful souls, to another episode of RLP is Healing. It's me, your host, Tamala, the holistic weaver and guide on this journey of healing, love, and self-discovery. Today's episode is very special because I am joined by someone that I've known for almost over 25 years. She is my dear friend, my sister in spirit. Most know her as Jaclyn, but I forever will know her as Jackie. Welcome, Jackie. How's it going?
Good. How are you? And it's like, that's how you know you're an OG, is you can call me that and I'm okay with it, because back in the day, I was fine with that.
I freaking love that. I love that. So how have you been? It's been a while.
It's, I'm existing. Just kidding. Yeah, it's been a harder year. And before we started recording, we were talking about this, so I'm going to be repetitive, but it's been a very hard year to figure out where to shift my energy and where to put that. The last 2 months, like January, February, felt like, what the fuck is happening right now? Oh, wait, can I cuss? I don't want to cuss if you
yeah,
can't cuss.
You can totally
cuss. I always have to remind myself that not everyone is fine with cussing. Anyway, but yeah, I feel like this month I'm kind of recalibrating things, and as someone who is very empathic and compassionate, it's been very hard to not absorb things going on. So now, for the moment, I'm in a good spot. How about you?
Oh, dude, I understand that. Because when you live in that space of compassion, empathy, loving kindness, and non-judgment, or you try your hardest not to judge, even though sometimes we want to shake the shit out of people.
Right.
I'm doing good. I'm, trying to bring myself back to a full center.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
And, speaking of being to full center, if you don't mind, I would love it if you take a breath with me, just 2 breaths, just breathing in and releasing. Breathing in and releasing. Setting the intention for us to deep dive into magic of creating and
I love that. I love that.
So take us back to where you began your own personal healing growth journey.
Which is funny because it doesn't necessarily start with some really great event. It always starts with some shitty event.
Mm-hmm.
But just to give some background on myself, I am a millennial. I'm 41. I am the eldest child of 3. And I have an Irish dad, a Filipino mom. I believe all of this is important context for the type of person that I grew up to be. I was always very responsible, very parentified from a very young age. And I remember I grew up in Santa Monica in California, and towards the end of 4th grade, my family moved to Arizona. We moved to Sierra Vista, which is a tiny town, 30 minutes away from the border, which is where I met you. But when we moved there, I went to a Montessori school in California, and I feel like Montessori schools, people don't know that they're creative type schools. It's a very different format. So going into a public school is very different. And so learning was fun in a Montessori environment, while public school is very textbooks, homework, da 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 da. So and to give further idea of how responsible I was at the end of 4th grade, you know how they have those superlatives where it's best dressed or class clown or whatever. I always wanted to get class clown, always. And at 9 years old, I got most responsible, which is like the worst fucking award you can I know.
I would love that shit.
I fucking brought it home to my parents and I was like, I'm most responsible. They're like, of course you are. I'm like, ugh. So either way, I have, again, being the oldest, you're held to a much higher standard in terms of grades, in terms of your behavior, blah, blah, blah. I didn't drink any alcohol till I was like literally 20, moved away from home. I pretty much was like, you got to be the role model for everyone and everything and people please and make all the people happy and be the family liaison. So the part for me where I guess I didn't realize how fucked up I was, like just in terms of the way that I was operating or how I was operating was back in 2018, my brother died of an overdose and he had struggled with substance use when since 2011 when he, or was it 2010 when he got into a car accident and he was ejected from the vehicle. He was in a wheelchair for about 2 months and they gave him all the oxy in the world. We all know how this story goes. Once he was denied oxy, he moved to illicit drugs. And so what I realize is when I do these interviews, I end up spending so much time on my brother. So to make him like a Cliff Notes right now, I want people to think I'm not a fucking heartless person, but then it's like all these interviews that are supposed to be about my experience end up, as the oldest child, you end up talking about everybody else. So this is me like trying to rein myself back in. So my brother passed away. And when that happened, no one at the time in general on social media knew what was going on with my brother unless like you were his friend and he told you. I didn't feel it was my place to tell anyone what my brother was going through. I didn't feel it was my place to really speak on that. And so when he died, then it's like this very obvious of like, you gotta tell the fucking truth now. And some families will choose not to. I will say for me, it was definitely something where my parents were very hesitant for me to be so open as to like what my brother went through, which is understandable because that comes with a lot of judgment and stigma. But for me, finally, like taking off the mask and just being fucking for real was like the first step, because I think many of us know we put on a mask, especially if you're neurodivergent, you'll put on a mask and pretend everything's cool. You want a good facade because you're already like, if you're neurodivergent, you're already in your head a little bit different. And it's been very obvious your whole life. People have told you you're not paying attention enough, you're not doing this enough, you're not that enough. So it's like, you're already well aware of the fact that you have a ton of shortcomings according to other people. And so when that happened, it was like, all right, I can't just fucking pretend everything's fine anymore. And one thing that my brother had, or that I loved about him, is that he was so honest and authentic, and almost to a fault, because it would drive me fucking insane, like with how truthful he was, you know. But for me, I decided to kind of embrace that characteristic because I love that. I just felt like I was so limited being the model everything. And so a lot of that began with processing my grief. And I think grief is the one thing that a lot of people don't talk about, especially when it's related to an overdose, because there's just a total different level of stigma and pain and shit that comes with that. And then if you're a parentified child, you have the grief of a sibling, but then you have that grief feeling of a parent. And so I felt very alone in my in the first couple of years after he passed, because I didn't know anyone who had really gone through anything similar that was willing to talk about it. And additionally, I worked in corporate America. Like, I wasn't involved in any advocacy work. So therefore, it wasn't like something that was openly talked about on my version of social media. Like, my version of social media is most superficial bullshit, you know? And so it was like, oh, did you guys watch this finale? You know, whatever. Fine, that's great. So I definitely retreated a lot. And a lot of people don't also talk about like the physical effects of grief as well. For me, I developed asthma. I've never had asthma before, but developed asthma. And then after about a year, I developed an autoimmune disease, which is called ITP, which is short for immune thrombocytopenia purpura. I know, really exciting.
Shit, that is like such a mouthful.
Yeah.
Ooh, IPP, it's a lot.
Yeah, ITP is way more manageable, but pretty much what it is that my immune system attacks my platelets. And your platelets are the red blood cells that are required to, if you get a cut, all those red blood cells show up to be like, hey, we're going to stop this from bleeding. So if your immune system's eating all your platelets, if you drop below a certain level, and for me, it was a normal human, this is impromptu health lesson, a normal human should have like 150,000 to 400,000 platelets in their system. Mm-hmm. And for reference, I had 3,000 platelets in my system at the time because I got admitted to the hospital twice. So anything below 10,000 platelets is risk for internal bleeding, brain hemorrhaging, all these things, and you won't be able to stop bleeding simply for the fact that you don't have platelets. And so being thrown into this, it's a rare disease. Like I think like 60,000 people in the US have it. So you throw that in, you throw in the grief shit. I think at the time I had bronchitis for the 85th time. You know what I mean? Like it was just like being in the hospital in like this unknown, like nobody knows how to handle this situation because it's there. A lot of it is really you need to give steroids to suppress your immune system so it stops attacking. The other end to that is if you've ever taken steroids long term, prednisone, dexamethasone, the side effects is like a Cheesecake Factory menu. It's like fucking books of just fucking side effects. So it's like this is helping you and hurting you in so many ways all at the same time. And I was getting platelet transfusions; those weren't working. I was getting it's called IVIG. And it is a certain type of transfusion that's typically done for people with like non-Hodgkin's lymphoma with different types of cancer. But for me, my very special ass gets to do that. So what that is, it's literally the white blood cells from like anywhere from 1,000 to 15,000 people in a fucking bag, and that gets put into your system. And I had to do that twice. And so like at least maybe minimum 2,000 people helped get me back to a better spot, or maybe 30,000. I don't really fucking know. But that shit's like $8,000, $10,000 a treatment. Like, it's insane. And again, as we all know, healthcare is everything is ridiculously insane. But that going through that is what fucking broke me down completely. You can have the grief, you can push through the grief. I could go to corporate America, pretend I'm fine, do all the bullshit. But when you have no control over your body, you have no control over your health, no control over your mental state, I literally just broke the fuck down and was like, this is the lowest I've ever fucking been. And it was really hard to like pause and face your own shit, because I think so many of us, we continue to function because we stay busy. There's no fucking lag time to even pause to think about how fucked you are. Like you're just going. And so if you're in the hospital, you can't sleep because you have prednisone. Shit's booping. People are fucking screaming. I mean, shit's going on. You are in the worst fucking environment to have like an existential crisis, and that's what was happening to me. And like when I got out of the hospital, like I was so bitter. I was so angry. I was just like, what the fuck is this happening to me? This whole, and I don't say this to be an asshole, but there is a victim mentality that can occur when so many bad things occur. Why the fuck is this happening to me? Why does this keep fucking happening to me? And so when I got out of the hospital and I was like back at home, I was so fucking bitter and pissed at the world. Because again, this was now the start of 2020. I was in my own quarantine, not knowing what would happen, in my own quarantine because my immune system didn't exist. And I started to feel more and more like shit. And it was literally, I woke up one morning and I went, I have no control over fucking anything except my body. So all we're going to do is just focus on what I can control. And as someone my entire life who has had anxiety, who has had to try and control all the things to feel better about it. Like there's my own trauma that came in before my brother. I was a victim of a home invasion. I was home at the time. Someone kicked down my bedroom door. Both my parents have had cancer. My dad has had pancreatic cancer, liver cancer, prostate cancer, kidney cancer, skin cancer. Like, he has had, I've gone through so many different versions of worrying about someone's health or having to caretake or whatever, that in your brain, you're just already trained to just push through shit. You know what I mean? And so to help me feel better about my anxiety this whole time is to, what can I control? Let me control all the fucking variables. Let me control everything. And this was the ultimate lesson in, hey, bitch, you don't control shit outside of yourself. Will you just fucking get over it and like focus on yourself for once? And it was truly, literally, I woke up and I just felt like that. And I don't know how to explain it. I just think I got sick of my own shit of like being, oh, woe is me. And then I just started focusing on my health. And it was just literally, let's just get my blood work in a good spot. And it started with like little shit like that. And a lot of it too, therapy, going to grief counseling. I've been going to grief counseling. I know a lot of people want to, why would you go and talk to someone about shit? Well, if you're the oldest child, surprise, you're an independent bitch. No one's ever helped you solve anything. You've figured out things on your own. And so therapy is beneficial for those people who don't have anyone to consult or talk to because we feel like a burden. I feel better paying someone to listen to me who's unbiased than fucking calling you. Like, I'm never going to call Tammy in the middle of the fucking night. I'm just not. Like, my problems are never going to be bigger than her problems where I interrupt her fucking sleep. That is how I've always felt. I feel that way with my parents. I don't want to wake them. They brought me into the fucking world. I think I should be able to wake them, but I feel guilty. So I cannot stress enough how therapy alone like helped jumpstart this. But it was truly like, you know, as we all know, 2020 with 2020. But then I started to realize that a lot of my feelings about like my brother, like, oh, I miss him, I wish he was here. All of my feelings started to shift towards, I wish I wasn't here. I don't deserve to be here. I don't want to be here. I bring nothing to this world. And those thoughts ruminated for months and months and months. And I was like, this does not feel normal, because I've never in my life ever been on that level of self-deprecation. Like, I self-deprecate, believe you me, but the level of not wanting to be here. And what really fucking scared me is I was driving home from work. I was on a side street, and someone was like, I'm showing this to people who can't see this, but you're going down a side street and someone makes an uncontrolled left in front of me. There's no light. They turn left in front of me to get onto the road that I'm on. And they get right in front of my car, and I slam on my brakes. It is literally fucking a foot away from the car. And most normal people would have that like rush of like, oh my fucking God, I'm okay, da da da. I was numb. I felt nothing. There was no emotional reaction. It was an instinct to brake, to not damage the other person's car. But the idea of like not damaging me, I didn't fucking care. I was just like, well, that sucks. Like it, and that was not a comfortable spot I've ever been in. And so then I finally had to be honest with my therapist and go, yo, I don't think this is grief anymore. I think this is something different. And I had to make an assessment. And I feel like it's really hard to admit that there's something wrong with you if you're a perfectionist. And it's also very hard to admit that something might be wrong and you're going to need medication for it. I don't know if you've ever been in that spot where, like, I had my own stigma against taking medication. Again, my brother, I have my own reasons. I hate the pharmaceutical industry and, you know, whatever, but my whole thing has been, I do not want to become dependent on a medication. I don't want to be a fake version of myself. I don't want to be fake happy. I don't want to whatever, because that's what I thought medication was going to do for me. And so I finally went and got diagnosed, like officially diagnosed. And she was like, Yeah, so you have CPTSD, and which is complex PTSD, which is different from the normal kind because PTSD is like perhaps related to a singular event or like say like 9/11, for example. Um, Complex PTSD is where multiple events have happened in your life and they're not necessarily related in any way, shape, or form. You've just had to deal with a lot of shit. Or another interesting thing that I didn't realize is that if in your childhood there was any sort of level of neglect, so if there was physical neglect, emotional neglect, um, I don't know, perhaps you were made to be parentified and be an adult as a child, that can factor in.
Yeah.
So, um, and then the anxiety, which, duh, like that's just my life. And then, based on what I had told her, and this is another thing, the reason I call this out is that if you are going to see a therapist, it's only going to be beneficial if you're straight up with them. I didn't
Mhm.
think any information before my brother died was relevant. I was like, well, this is the thing that really fucked me up. So I don't know why we have to talk about all the other things. Surprise you do. And she diagnosed me with depression. And in reality, um, what I ended up finding out is I have ADHD. A year later, I figured that out. But when my ADHD is not managed and I feel very overwhelmed, it slips into a depression. And that's how that works. So that made sense to me. But a lot of this stuff as I'm going through is I'm starting to reevaluate everything in my life. Like once you go through a significant loss, I feel like there's a point where you're reevaluating everything, obviously at first, but then it's
Mhm.
like over time when you're now pulled out of that immediate like grief phase, now you're thinking like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I doing the things that I do? And I felt that way about corporate America. I'm like, why am I fucking here? I don't align with this. I'd gotten more into volunteering and doing advocacy work around substance use, education around harm reduction, education around addiction. Um, I decided to educate myself more because in advocacy, you can have your story, and that's great. But an effective advocate will have a story, and then they have the facts or the stats to back them up. So, one thing I always say in advocacy with some of my friends is like, feelings aren't facts. So you can have all the fucking big feelings you want, but if there's no data to support it, then they're just feelings. And so that made me really reevaluate like, okay, well, what do I value? You know what I mean? Like what am I
Mhm.
fucking doing here? You know? And I had never really pondered the idea of like what my values are. Like when I think of value, because of the way I grew up and we live in a capitalistic society, I think money. And I'm like, when you're thinking like, what do you value? I'm like, I value money. Of course I value money. I need money to survive.
Unfortunately, in this world, that is
Right.
like, I think that most people, I feel that most people, the first thing that they would say is, I value money. Like just
Yeah.
now, even when you were like, I had to think about the things that I value. I'm like, wait a minute, what
Right.
do I value? You know what I mean? Like it makes you go in and you're like, what? Wait, let me check myself.
Right. Right. And
You
I
know
was
what I
just like,
mean?
and it wasn't until I started getting more involved with advocacy to where became a part-time job for me. And
Mhm.
so thankfully, I had access to different types of community organizing type training and different trainings where there's a big emphasis on values. So then I learned about values. And the whole point that they really emphasize is that obviously, if you're doing advocacy work, anything around legislation, you're going to work with people that don't fucking believe in the same thing as you. That's just life. And if you want to come to a compromise, which I feel is such a foreign concept to people now, but I still try to attain it. If you want to come to a compromise, like you need to find common ground. And so one of the big things they really emphasize when you're doing community organizing is finding a common value you may share. So one example that I can give is like, say, gun control. On
Mhm.
one side, you have people who are like, I want my weapons to protect myself and my family in case shit goes down. On the other side, you have someone saying, I want my child to be safe in school and not have to fucking worry about this. I
Mhm.
see both ends. But the common value between both of them is safety. Both of them want their people to be safe. It's just different routes how they want to go about it. But once you can identify what do we both fucking share that we both are like, yeah, this is it. It's like the perfect spot to like, okay, let's build on this. So I know there are many people, especially in the last 5 fucking years, who are like, automatically unfriend someone who isn't my team. If you're not the red team, the blue team, or the whatever fucking team, I'm gonna unfriend you.
Right.
I have friends from all sorts of teams, and I have friends who are anarchists. I have friends who, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel a lot of my healing is attributed to learning from all these people with different backgrounds too, because it changes your perspective. I don't think you can truly get a better sense of like yourself, a better sense of the world, unless you're exposed to things that challenge you and challenge your beliefs. And then my therapy turned into like real therapy. And in May, it'll be 2 years that I've been in EMDR, and anyone who's been on my social media knows like I should just be a paid EMDR like fucking spokesperson. And for people who don't know what EMDR is, it's eye movement desensitization reprocessing. I think it's reprocessing. And this is for people who have PTSD or who have complex trauma. And this is really beneficial for those people because it's a deeper dive than your normal talk therapy. I would never fucking recommend anyone jump right into it if you haven't already like taken the time to sort through your own shit. And I know that sounds weird because in our heads we sort through things, but when you sort them out loud to like say and I'm sure you get this like when you're talking with clients, when you finally spit things out, like all of a sudden you're like, that doesn't sound right. You know what I mean? Or like, that sounds weird. You have that realization because you've convinced yourself of something in your head and then you put it out there and then someone goes, wait, here's a different perspective. And I'm like, what?
Right. And that, living in a space of it always had been like just this way. Like hearing your story and things like that, it makes me think because I think back to like my childhood and being the adult sibling. I like the quotations like fucking people can see me.
Air quotes, everyone. There's air quotes.
Air quotes. Just a moment. There was an air quote. But being like the child sibling, my little sister, which you know this, the story. My little sister passed away from, due to drug addiction and overdose, and my mom and I couldn't say goodbye. So my sister was like, she was in a coma for months.
And people don't talk about that. Like what's going to happen. It's the most fucked up, like, anticipation. And again, like, my brother died of an overdose and I got the call. I had not talked to my brother for about 4 or 5 months before that happened. And not because we were in a shit spot. I find that I used to really defend this, and be like, I was a good sister. There were just times where we wouldn't talk to each other. Yeah, that's how fucking mental health works. I realize that now, is that if you're not in a good spot, I'm not going to fucking text you back. I'm not going to call you back because I don't want to fucking talk to you because I don't want to talk to anyone and I hate myself. So it's like, I could not understand what he was going through because I had never gone through anything like that. And as the oldest child, I've been told you just suck it up and you just push through. So I'm like, why the fuck aren't you picking up your phone? Why the fuck can't you just get this done? Because I had that mentality. And obviously it's to my detriment because it did not allow me to take myself out of my fucking, beliefs and put myself in his situation, which was detrimental. I mean, I think a lot of times, especially when someone dies, no matter what, you're going to carry some level of guilt because you always feel like you could have done something more. And that's just, I feel like human nature, we always feel like if we had just done this one thing, or if we had said this one thing, that would rewrite everything. And we don't know that. It helps us feel a little bit better, but we don't know that. And so going through the years of, again, you know, this as a substance use, you're waiting for that fucking call. You're waiting for some fucking call, and you don't know when that's going to get there. To this day, my brother died. It's going to be close to 7 years this year, or close to. It'll be 7 years later this year, and I cannot answer a phone call randomly. If you call me randomly and we don't ever talk on the phone, I'm not answering your fucking call. You don't leave me a voicemail, I'm not answering your call. You don't text me to go, hey, I just called you to talk about this very non-threatening thing, I'm not calling you back. I don't care if that sounds like an asshole thing to do, but phone calls, they fuck with me. Like, I don't know what information I'm going to get from the other end. And so I need to screen it for my own nervous system. People may think that's fucking shitty or shady or whatever. That's just how I operate. I'm sorry. Like, I got to do things to where I need to protect my shit now, because when you are the problem solver, when you are the adult, air quotes again, the adult fucking 9-year-old in the room, when you are that role and you've always played that role that entire life, in your friend group, in your work group, you are the person who you handle everyone's problems. You listen to everyone's problems. If I can, here, let me give you advice. When you do that and you spread your energy to everyone, you get fucked. Bottom line. And I realized that so much of my energy was going to so many people to help them with their own shit that I was just like empty on my end. So how the fuck am I going to help me? My once a week therapy session ain't going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, why do you think I've been in therapy this fucking long? I still haven't figured my shit out.
You know, preach. But the one thing that I feel that the only reason why someone would have a challenge with the fact that you screen your calls, it's because of their lack of boundaries.
Yes, that is exactly
we have a lack of boundaries, which, listen to us, being all life coachy, empowerment coach, wellness consultant and shit, you know, but these are things that, like, shit, I didn't really know much about boundaries. And then I went to rehab and they show you all this shit. And it's like, what are boundaries?
And it's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Don't I always have to do what's asked of me if someone asks me for help? Because in reality, if someone asks you for help, you help. And in real reality, like, if you need help, I'll fucking help you. But I also need you to indicate that this is you need fucking help. Because there are also the people who need help because someone broke up with me and they're not texting me back. Like, I'm sorry, I've dealt with a higher level of things, and at 41, I can't handle that anymore. That's like 20-year-old shit. I'm sorry, I can't do that. So it's also, like you said, it's being selective of who has access to your energy. There are people who, all the time, no matter what, I will always pick up for them. I will always whatever. However, as time has gone on, healing also means understanding that you don't have to be the bigger person every time. You don't have to always be the person to facilitate the friendship, to facilitate the hangout. One thing that I have really tried to really enforce, especially with my EMDR, is reciprocation. So if I give you my time and I talk to you about your shit, I hope at some point when I need someone, you give me your time and I talk about my shit. And I realized so many of my relationships, male and female, were very one-sided and very held up by my weird guilt of, if I don't check in on this person, they're going to think I'm an asshole because I've invested time in them. And I never paused to go, have they ever stopped to check in on you? And no, they didn't. And so when I decided, okay, I'm going to stop proactively reaching out to this person, 100% of the time, those people never reach back out to me. The people who never reciprocated that, which is shitty. It's honestly really fucking shitty. Because you have this idea in your head that, like, I'm not helping you with the intent of, now you owe me. I'm not a boomer, okay? I'm not gonna fucking sit here, you need to earn my help. Now you owe me for the rest of your fucking, I brought you into this world, I'll take you out. I'm not a boomer, okay? Sorry to boomers, but a lot of you are like that. And if you're not, I commend you for breaking that generational curse. There's a very big generational curse within boomers that is like, you can't have anything good unless you earn it. I am smarter than you because I'm older than you. That's not the fucking
Mhm.
case. Don't question me because I told like this whole idea of like do as I say
And
and don't
not as I
question me.
do.
It that's not my mentality. So I operate from a very different perspective, and it's like I need to know that there's mutual investment. That's it.
Mhm.
I'm not like if you come to me for help, I'm not going to go, okay, on the scoreboard, that's 2 for me. I'm not a boomer. I get. So it's really fucking hard though because I almost felt like too it was and Tammy is also a very, very nice person if you do not know her, and also may at times have been a people pleaser. But it is so hard to pull your energy back because you can't help but think I'm being an asshole, right? Like,
Mhm. I feel like the biggest asshole when I'm like, I'm sorry, I gotta pull it back. And then I'm slowly pulling it back
mhm,
like I'm about to pull a fish up out the fucking water. Because I'm like slowly, I'm like, wait a
mhm,
minute.
mhm.
The sharks below may need a little bit more. Nope, pull it
Yep,
up, pull it up, pull it up. For
exactly.
the first time in my life, last week, I unfriended people. I've never done it.
Dude, is
Never
that
done it.
not
It's hard as fuck.
is that not like and again, like fucking 50 years from now, people are gonna like listen to this and be like, unfriend people, what does that mean? But it sounds so silly, but it was the hard like last year blocking my ex from like reaching out to me, which a big topic of EMDR has been processing the fact that I was in an abusive relationship long ago that I deemed as toxic, boxed it away, put it in the fucking closet to never deal with again. And guess what? It has haunted me this whole time. And it's the best analogy I always say. It's like I had a room in the house that had mold, and instead of cleaning out the mold, I just shut the door and I locked it. And I was like, "We're good. Because it's not an event. It's fine. It's just like one little corner. We're good." And in reality, like the last 20 years, that mold has gone through the vents. It has gone into everything else.
Mhm.
And I did not realize how much of my behavior in situations, not even romantic situations, just in general, were being driven by the trauma of that relationship and how I had to learn how to adapt in my fight flight, you know? And people do not understand that unless you open the fucking door and you start I don't even know what you do to get rid of mold. I don't know, light on fire. I don't know fucking what you do. But whatever the
Can
fuck
we
you
just
do,
light it on fire? Can we
yeah,
just
can't
light
shut
it
the
on
door.
fire and that way we can like step away from it because we just lit it on fire?
Right. Exactly.
I
And
mean,
it's like it will haunt you. I'm sorry. Like, and if you're someone who doesn't haunt you, you may be a sociopath, possibly. But as someone like me who I can't understand, why did I have such a strong fucking reaction to the most minuscule thing? Like, why did I just freak out about that? And I think that's another part of being neurodivergent and finally understanding that is that, like, this isn't because I had a weird fucking quirk that one time. Like, this is just how my brain's wired. My brain is
mhm.
wired in the way to understand why do I do the things that I do? Why does that thing do the way that it does? Why do you feel the way that you do? And which is why we probably, and both Tammy and I are neurodivergent. So it's like, it's real, not real. It's like plausible that we became like coaches and consultants for like where we talk to people and help them figure out their shit because we think that's fun. We like that. We like to problem solve.
I love that. Like, I love, and for some people, for some people, they want to be able to hang with it because some of the stuff that you hear, you're like, and you have to remember in your mind, I
Mhm.
like fix your face. Like for
Yeah.
me, I have to remind myself, Tammy, don't widen your eyes because
Hmm.
sometimes the eyebrows will be like, and then
I
I'll see myself and
yes.
I'm like, "Psh, okay, get that face fixed." And speaking of this, really quickly, as we
Yeah.
said, Jaclyn, ooh, I don't like that. No, I'm like, that didn't sound right to me. Jackie. So you guys just heard Jackie talk about that we are coaches and
Hmm.
consultants. And I want you guys to not only hear so let me put it out there, my WCW, her story. I want you guys to hear about her business. Because let me tell you, she is bomb with her compassion and her empathy and love for other people. Yeah. So let everybody know what inspired you to turn your healing into a business.
That is such a great question, because even in that, a part of me, I'm so like, the idea of combining like help with money is such a foreign concept to me on my end. You know what I mean? Like, I gave help away for free. And look what that did for me. But one thing that really inspired me and what prompted me to quit corporate America is one of the cool trainings activities that I got afforded in my job. One of my contract roles that I do is I work for an organization called Mobilize Recovery, and we're a national nonprofit, and we really focus on highlighting the fact that there are multiple pathways to recovery, and education is key, and raising awareness, and all the good stuff. But one of the things that I was afforded was this training that was actually developed at Harvard, and it was around a community organizing training around public narrative, which is telling your story to people. And this is in the context of, say, you're going to like testify in front of Congress, or you know what I mean? Like, you're just trying to voice your support on something. So it's in a very succinct format. It's not like tell your story and you get 46 hours to do it. It's you got 3 minutes at the fucking podium. How do you say what you need to say in 3 minutes? So I was lucky enough to be involved in that program where you learn how to become a coach for that. And then you go through this training, figuring out, what are the things, motivational interviewing, you learn all these different techniques on how to whatever, but then you also learn how to really extract things quickly in the sense of like, what's the deeper meaning here? And I've always been able to do that. Like, so for me, this was good. I just didn't have confidence that I could do it on a level that wasn't like, you call me and go, hey, what fucking, I want to go on a cruise. What fucking cruise ship should I go on? I mean, first of all, you shouldn't ask me. I've never been on a cruise. But what I'm saying is like to show the difference between like just basic ass info versus how am I going to tell you how to tell your story? That seems like very heavy of a responsibility. But I coached people at our event, and at the end of it, we were like sitting in this big ballroom where everyone's sitting on the floor, and we all got to go around and say like, well, we learned whatever. And it's all of us coaches. And I was just like, I'm going to quit my job. I'm quitting corporate America. And everyone was like, I'm sorry, what? And I was like, I loved working with people today, and I loved helping them work through their stuff and better understand why their story is significant and why it does matter and why their voice does matter. And it felt so much better, even though I was not like getting paid, obviously corporate salary. It felt so much better to connect with someone on that level versus in corporate America. It's just very hollow. I'm sorry. Like it's not, it's about money. It's what it is. It's not about people. It's not about helping people. It's about money. And so literally and it was something that I had been pondering with my husband. And again, for moving from a 2-income household to potentially just a 1-income household, that's a huge jump. So we talked through it for months, and then and I was just like, I'm just not fucking happy. Like he finally recognized like, this is fucking killing you. So yeah, figure it out. And we did. And so I quit. I got home, I put in my 2 weeks notice, and I quit. And I started my business. I was gung ho. I was like, I'm going to look this up. I'll do everything myself. I'm going to start my own LLC, I'm going to coach. I'm going to offer all these things. And the problem is that I'm really good at getting shit done. I'm not good at confidence. And so marketing myself, even doing this right now, notice I'm stalling to talk about my business because it's very fucking weird for me to talk about me in a positive way that is selling. But my big thing that I've started doing again, with EMDR and all that, is trying to work on my confidence, because how am I going to fucking have a successful business if I'm not willing to talk about it? If I'm not willing to like prop myself up, you know, because if I'm going to work with someone, I want to work with someone who is confident and knows what the fuck they're doing. And I realized back then when I quit, I was not ready to be per se a business owner. I was ready to work in a different area, but not necessarily be the catalyst and be the one person team. So I had to really work on my confidence. And I would suggest that to anyone who's going to start your own business, that you have to really work on your confidence if you want to get people to come in. I mean, you understand, like there has to be some level of trust for them to want to go, oh yeah, you could help me and I will give you money to help me. I didn't have that confidence. And so a lot of my confidence ended up getting built in the other contract work that I did with Mobilize, other side projects where I started to myself validate myself, because being a coach, anyone can be a coach. I know everyone's gonna say that. Anyone can be a life coach. What the fuck's a life coach? What the fuck is this? What the fuck is that? That's not a real job. Honestly, is anything a real job? Let's just be honest here. Is anything a real job?
Like, you know what though? And that's the thing is, I remember when I started, and like I started with, and you're right, like, and I'm going to even go back to this real quick about with the confidence.
Yeah.
When I started, I was doing the breath work and meditation. I love breath work, love meditation. I love seeing people open up and be able to, and I ended up doing forgiveness life coaching. I ended up, you know, getting a certification, but I was like, people are like, well, what's forgiveness life coaching? They're like, so do I have to forgive other people? I'm like, no, it's about forgiving yourself, but I need to forgive other people. Yes. But if you cannot forgive yourself, how do you expect to forgive any other people? But I was in this space of, I took myself out of the box that I had put myself in all those years before. And then here the fuck I come and put myself back into another box that's completely different. So it comes to that space of like, okay, well, how do I really give this vibe of like that people understand that, you know, and confidence, I think, is a really big, important part for this.
And it's hard too when you pivot completely from a career. Like I worked like 15 years in the insurance industry. Like where in there is anything about coaching, or like that's not on the surface. People are like, how the fuck would you know shit about shit? You know what I mean? Like I didn't go to school for it. I have a degree in marketing. Nothing about me screams I'm, air quotes again, qualified. I don't have letters after my name. I don't have blah, blah, blah. However, one thing I have learned in advocacy, one thing I have learned outside of the corporate world is your life experience is so fucking valuable. And so really my experience in a variety of situations, i.e. 47 different cancers that my dad had, or shit that my mom had, or my brother's shit, or my own shit, or whatever. Like I have gone through a variety of events in my life that probably most people would not have. And I have always felt that if I can advise someone, this is so fucking big sister mentality. If I tried it and I fucked up, but I figured out a better way to do it, I'm always going to try and give people a heads up. Like I'm like, it's like if you go somewhere and it's like, hey, by the way, just a heads up, there's a whole long line over here. You might want to go this way. I'm always that person. I don't want to waste anyone's time because my biggest anxiety is time. There's never enough of it. I'm wasting too much of it. You know what I mean? Like that's my biggest anxiety. So the way I really had to, like you said, I put myself in a box. I'm a coach and consultant. And like, here are the very business-like things. Like I know how to organize a syringe service program. I know how to organize, you know, a family program. I know how, and you're throwing all these corporate type things to a world of people that don't fucking care. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like they want to know, like for example, my brand of ADHD allows me to be also very meticulous in the sense that I've got a spreadsheet for a spreadsheet. Things are very clearly laid out because my brain needs to see everything in a neat manner for me to process it. There are a lot of neurodivergent people that can't do that because that's their brand of ADHD. So one thing that I do that's helpful is I find that a lot of people that I work with are neurodivergent in some way, and I can make really big concepts or things understandable. And I know I can, and that's like the one thing that let me be confident about that is that I know how to teach someone something where it's not like overwhelming or like you're not making any fucking sense. But with the type of the way that I'm kind of pivoting my business now, because again, developing more confidence, going through EMDR, understanding like, yo, my experiences are my fucking power. What I've gone through is my fucking superpower. My ability to, again, I'm hyper vigilant as fuck and I fucking hate it. However, it is a superpower unlike no other. I'm like, we'll be fucking walking the dog and I'll go, there's a dog behind us like 4 o'clock. And Jerome will be like, how the fuck do you see that? I was like, see out of the corner of my eye. And he's like, how the fuck did you see that? I'm like, because I'm traumatized. I look for everything. So to pitch this to other people, I'm telling you, if you have a coach or you have someone in your life and that coach has gone through a lot of fucked up shit, they've gone through a lot of trauma, but they've done a lot of therapy and they've done a lot of work on themselves, honestly, that's the type of person I would trust because I'm going to trust people who've gone through it. Would you trust someone who's never made $1 million to be like, hey, I'm going to show you how to be a millionaire? Fuck no. Now, would you trust someone who's gone through a lot of shit in their life to help you get through other shit? Probably. And so like, I always try to put it that way. So my focus this year has been like workshops because I have found that small group learning is like my sweet spot because it's easy to connect with people in a smaller group. In a big group, you can't, maybe there's a few people you'll connect with, but I'm the type of person who I want everybody to have equal say or equal contribution to a discussion. If you have 50 fucking people, surprise, you're not all 50 are going to participate. So the first workshop I finally came up with because I finally had confidence is called Unfuck Your Filter. And pretty much what it is, and people are like, can you not say fuck? No, that's not me. So I can't. But the whole focus is it's just a workshop utilizing some of the things that I learned in therapy, which is really understanding that a lot of our beliefs that we have about ourselves were all established when we were children. Someone else told us that's who you are. This is what you need to do more of, less of, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of times we have this internal filter that if someone tells us something, our internal filter puts it in the words that we interpret it as. And truly, I always tell people this workshop is based off my husband because my husband and I have been in marriage counseling since 2020. Obviously, after my brother died, that fucked up a lot of shit everywhere in my life, including my marriage. And going through marriage counseling and understanding how his filter was fucked up. So for example, if I were to go, hey, Jordan, did you feed the dogs yet? His filter would literally hear, I can't believe you forgot to do this again. And it's like, all I'm doing is fact-finding. I'm just asking a question. But how often, if you think about it, how often if someone asks you a question in a certain tone, if someone says something to you with certain verbiage, you go, the fuck did that bitch just say? Like, what, you assuming I don't know this? Are you thinking?
0 to 100.
Right. Why do we automatically jump to do that? Because some filter in our head was like, they just called you dumb.
Yeah,
you know
right.
What I mean?
You're talking to me.
Right, exactly. And so the workshop is truly just understanding, hey, how can you identify, again, I'm not teaching anything new, revolutionary, anything. I'm just reframing information that's digestible. So it's like if I sit there and I go, again, the focus of the workshop is understanding what are some, core negative beliefs you have about yourself. How can we understand what the opposite, what you want to be is, and how can you unfuck that? How can you, because once you understand what you need to unfuck, it's a lot easier. But if you are literally, until you open an IKEA box and lay all the pieces out, you don't know how the fuck this is going to go. And that's literally what the workshop is like, let's lay it out, figure out what the fuck you're fucked up about, and in this process, I'm not going to unfuck you completely. That's the other thing too. Another thing with coaching that I realized that I had to take on myself and understand is that I can have the best intentions for the person I'm coaching. I can have the best plan. I can have the best layout and advice as to what to do. However, if the person I am coaching does not prioritize it, does not have the time for it, does not have, they're too afraid, because fear is going to stop so many things from happening. We're so afraid of what might happen. And in reality, it's like, well, aren't you afraid of what happens if you keep living this way? You know what I mean? So it's like, it's one of those things where you got to try something. And so when we're sitting here and it's like, all right, let's think about things in a different way. My goal is always like, you need to be as committed to this as I am to you, because I would feel guilty if someone wasn't as committed and they're like, well, I'm not achieving results. Right. Because you're not prioritizing yourself.
And that right there.
And that's like unfortunately on the coach end, that's not a burden we should carry. I do carry it. We shouldn't carry it though. And that's really hard. Like, as I'm sure you've experienced, it's hard to constantly get that victim mentality back. I can't do this. I don't want to do this. Oh, well, you're suggesting this. I can't do that because I tried that 6 years ago and it didn't work. Right? That was 6 years ago, homie.
Or that I don't have time to do this. Then why did you sign up in the first place? Like, if you aren't really ready to do that, like, and I think it makes me think back to, like, for myself, like, Tammy, if you say, hey, I want to do this.
Yeah.
What's the first thing you're going to do? I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to message the person and be like, hey,
right.
Okay, so I did what you said right here. Send it back first thing. All, you know what I mean? And it's one of those. And also, too, it breaks your fucking heart when you are a life coach and you have that heavy, empathetic, compassionate heart.
Because I don't want to see anyone fail. I want to help as many people as I can, but we also have to be realistic about what control and what power we have and what control and power the other person has. And like you said, you have to be committed to prioritizing yourself. That's really what it is. It's not even prioritizing me or you. It's prioritizing you taking a fucking deep dive or changing your behavior or whatever it might be. And that the other part too that I always really try to emphasize is that I'm 41. It took, I don't know, fucking 30 years to establish a lot of these things or whatever the fuck it might be. This society wants instant gratification, instant results, instant everything. And so I'm fine with the fact that I've been in EMDR for almost 2 years, because not every session is an EMDR session where you have like the actual, there's like little buzzy handheld things that you do. Some sessions are just straight up talk therapy. I need a fucking break between these big traumatic events that we keep deep diving into, because that's what it is. You're deep diving into all your shit. And so there needs to be an understanding that it's going to take time. If something took years for you to develop, why would you think after 3 sessions you'd be cured? You know, and really understanding those expectations as well, because we are not claiming to be, gurus. We're not claiming to be the people who will fix you. However, we are claiming to be people who can reframe things for you, who can put a different spin, or who can provide you potentially different suggestions that you haven't thought of to tackle something in your life. That's really all that we're there to do. And the benefit is that we've done probably more shit than, I'm not going to say more shit than you have. We've been more traumatized than you have, probably. And so, like, we'll be able to figure something out. That's the other thing, too. We're not a substitute or a psychologist, a therapist. We're not a substitute. We're literally like a coach, a mentor, a whatever the fuck you want to call it.
I always tell people when they're signing up, I said, I help you help yourself. I help you change your life. And I always go back to the thing of like, why would I want a therapist that's not someone that's an ex-addict? They don't
Yes.
for me, because guess what? If you've never been an addict, you are not going to be able to tell me what the feeling of. You can tell me
Yeah.
what you perceive it
Yeah.
to be. Like you were the first person that I ever knew, friends with, got to, you know what I mean? Like we're fam, but now, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? But you're the first person that ever showed me what it was like on the other side of my addiction.
Mm,
I
mm,
personally did not know what it was like on the other side of my addiction, because I would hear the things of like, why can't you just stop?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I wish I could stop. You know what I
Right.
mean?
And I think a lot of that too is that a lot of times, if and especially when it comes to substance use, and I also should clarify too that not the amount of substance use someone does is not necessarily a substance use disorder. It's not necessarily like a full-blown addiction or whatever. However, if you think about it, we live in a very traumatizing world, and we as humans, this is the first time in all of the world that we've been told about that we have so much access to knowledge, information, news,
Mhm.
what's going around the country. Because 30 years ago, unless it was in the fucking newspaper or on a TV screen or in some weird fucking AOL chat, or some shit, then like, right, like you wouldn't fucking know about it. And so we are being exposed to a volume of information that's truly like robot level, but we're
Mhm.
humans. And so we're expected to still function like the robots we were built to be, but not understanding that their emotions are normal. That's something I've had to relearn, because when you go through a lot of shit, you become numb to a lot of shit. And I think a lot of people are numb right now when it comes to everything that's going on in the world, because you get that way after a certain point. EMDR has thawed my icy heart out. And so I I literally cry every day. I say this all the time. I don't care if someone calls me a crybaby, but when I tell my therapist, I'm like, "Oh my God, I cry every day." And she's like, "You're being a human." It's just like, oh. And I'm just not used to that.
After rehab, I cried like a baby every day
Because you're
in
numbing
rehab.
yourself,
And
right?
I cried all the time. And then I realized, after getting into holistic work and coaching and consulting and stuff, I
Yeah,
came to realize, I was like, oh, it's normal. And my therapist is like, that's normal. And then
right.
I go, of course, then the neurospicy kicks in,
Yeah.
is, well, what is normal?
Yeah, exactly.
And then he always hits me, he's like, don't you start with me.
Right.
Like, don't you start with me. And he's cool. I love my therapist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've got a round. So this is something new that I'm doing, that I'm adding to this, because this
Yeah.
is the space of talking about yourself and talking about your business and all your stuff.
Mhm.
And that's, you already know,
Yeah.
I had to invite you into this space because I was like, she needs to do it, and I feel it, and I understand. It was me. I did that
Yeah.
too. So this is called the All the Things round.
Ooh.
So it's fun, rapid fire, or
Ooh.
even a deep reflection round. So
I
we've got
fucking love games, for the record. More people need to do fucking games like this and shit like this, because it's like the neuro sparkly in me is like, yeah, let's give me a fucking challenge. Let's go.
ooh, then you're gonna love this first one.
Okay.
Okay. So here we go. What's a non-negotiable in your daily routine?
Ooh. Non-negotiable in my daily routine. Oh my God. Hold on. Because my routine has not been consistent. So I'm trying to still think what has been, honestly, non-negotiable time with my dogs. Like I have to play with my dogs. I have to have some time where I just sit with them. And whether it be watching them play, I don't care if it's 5 fucking minutes, I don't care, whatever. I need to either go outside and like watch them fucking graze the yard or whatever the fuck they're gonna do. But they're the one things that keep me present and keep me in a good mental state, because I've never seen anyone so excited to see me all the time, and it's my dogs. And so when I'm not excited to see me and they are, like, that's non-negotiable. I need to have time with them.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So now next, number 2, a book or podcast that's changed your life.
The Power of Now. And it's a book, it's by Eckhart Tolle. And the only reason I bring this up is I tried to read it maybe like 2018, 2019, sometime after my brother died. I was not in the mental spot to process that. And I have that and I haven't listened to it. She's holding up a copy where he did a sequel. It's called A New Earth, which I need to fucking, was it the sequel or the prequel? Either way, I was not in a mental spot to understand or even process what the fuck that book meant. I tried it again after going to therapy and kind of like talking through my shit, and it clicked. And it literally changed the way that I view things, in the sense of like really making me self-aware of what my ego is. And like how much of this desire to get this thing done, or how much of this is really actually an emergency, or really actually the need to feed my ego to be like, you did good job. You know, like it changed the way that I view what my motivation is behind things and how I assess that.
Oh, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
One piece of advice you live by.
I think it's only appropriate that I say the golden rule, which if you're going to be like, well, here's the platinum rule, fuck off. Okay. We're talking about the golden rule here. I don't want to hear golden rule. And the reason I say this is because my business is named after it. My brother on social media, that sounds weird, but he would have a post every time around Christmas, and it was always saying, stay golden, which is like an allusion to the golden rule, because he would always talk about, you never know what someone's going through. You never really understand what someone's going through. So don't be a fucking asshole. I mean, that was really the whole thing. Like, don't be an asshole and have some understanding. And so treat people how you want to be treated. And my business is called Stay Golden Coaching and Consulting. I literally have it, for the people who can't see at home, it tattooed on my arm. It's the first tattoo I got after he died. And so it's one of those things that it reminds me that when I really want to be a judgy fucking bitch, because let's be honest, we all want to be judgy fucking bitches sometimes. It reminds me of, they have had very different life experiences than you. And so therefore they're acting from a very different spot. And so maybe don't automatically make a judgment. And that has helped me a lot.
You know, I love Stay Golden.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of those things that, well, because, you know, like, I love quotes. I love quotes. Mm-hmm. And that quote by your brother, Stay Golden.
Yeah.
That to me is like the Oscar Wilde.
Yeah.
To love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance.
And I love that when you brought that up to me the first time, I was like, God damn, this really is like a journey of loving yourself. I mean, that's really what this is. Like, and it sounds woo-woo, but what are we fucking here for? You know, we're not here to work and die. We're here to figure something out. And it starts with our own shit.
Yeah. To love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. Oscar Wilde. That changed my life forever. And now I'm like, Stay Golden, Marc.
Yeah. And again, I also want to be fair too. Is like, this wasn't something that when he was alive that stood out to me. Again, like that when you see shit on social media, you're just like, yeah, he says this all the time. It sounds terrible, but when he died, I scoured his social media. I scoured his everything for every last bit of him that existed. And this was the one thing that I found, that like, he said this every fucking year. You know, as I'm stalking him, and weirdo. But yeah, I mean, it's simple, and it's a tribute to him, but in the same way, it's my twist on it, you know?
I love it. One thing I got one more question for you. What's next for you for our rapid fire round?
So one cool thing that I just got a contract or opportunity to do is I'll be doing a team building, which is totally like not my realm, so to speak. Like on the surface, like what the fuck. But I am a meeting facilitator. I've facilitated many groups, done all the things. I have built groups up, and I am going to be doing in a couple weeks a team building because it's the situation is it's a bunch of new people kind of coming together, working together. It's a regime shift, so it's really wanting to get people to feel comfortable with each other and not have this weird like oh, that's who I work with, but just to have this trust or comfortability. And the reason I felt very honored to get this is that the person who asked me if I'd be willing to do it took my Unfuck Your Filter class, and she loved that so much and wanted some version of that because she appreciated how quickly I was able to get everyone to be very comfortable with each other, like within the workshop, and how everyone, I really intentionally set a space where people could share and there wasn't going to be weird fucking feelings or vibes or anything like that. So the fact that she was able to see me in a different light or see my skills transferred in a different way and had confidence in me to do that, that means the world to me. So immediately that's what's next. I am coming up with a second part to Unfuck Your Filter, which is kind of, you don't have to take Unfuck Your Filter, but this is just really around boundaries, just a workshop around boundaries, what they are, what they look like, how they can be implemented. Again, I'm not inventing this. This is all information that's on the internet. However, I'm going to package it in a way that is consumable for the neurodivergent brain or any brain. So that's the other thing I'm working on. And I still do work with Mobilize Recovery. One of the things that I am in charge of is the Day of Service, which is a campaign that we have had every year where we encourage people during the months of September and October. Ideally, it was just 1 month, September, which is Recovery Month. But Recovery Month is a busy month. If you're in recovery, in advocacy, it's just events nonstop. So we did September and October. And the whole point is, at some point in your substance use, in your mental health journey, and some sort of, and again, this is recovery from substance use, mental health issues, whatever it might be. At some point, we needed people in our community to help us and pick our asses up and help us out. So the whole focus is, this is a time for you to reflect, take a moment, and give back to your community. I think that's more important than ever this year, especially. And so that's my other big initiative that I'm working on, like contract wise, but otherwise personal wise. And again, it's one of those things where I don't even want to speak it out loud because then that makes me obligated to things. But like, I've been talking about doing affirmation cards like forever. I have the printer saved. I have all the affirmations saved. I have the design saved. I just have to pull the fucking trigger. I have an art shop, like a creative online shop. I have art prints I want to sell. I got to print them. They're made. I drew them. Just got to do it. So a lot of these things are just like when I'm ready to, but it's like I have things that has been brewing. It's just I need to be in the spot to execute it perfectly because my perfectionist ass is not going to do anything half-assed. I got to wait till my full ass shows up. So
hi, my name is Pamela, and I understand that. I got some meditation cards that have been sitting, and I just need to, all I got to do is hit print. All I got to do is hit print, and then you get a nice deck of meditation cards, but Tammy's not there yet.
But that's the thing, is when you are A, neurodivergent, B, a perfectionist, you think, okay, well, let me come back to this. Because I'm okay with it, but I'm not sold on it. And that's how I've kind of been. So I created my whole, what I created was like my vision board bingo. I've never created a vision board, but my neurosparkly ass needs it to be fun, hence your game, which I was all about. So I had to make a vision board, a bingo card. And so it's a bingo card now. So I do have other goals on there. For example, like update my website. Don't go to my website because it's just like very corporate feeling and I need to update it. And it's very easy to update. But in the same, but it's like, you just got to sit down and do the 2 hours to do it. And when you're fucking neurodivergent, you're like, I can knock this out in 2 hours. So you just keep delaying it until someone lights your ass on fire, for example, like this training. I know I have to do it on this date. So I got to get it done by then. But when everything else is up to me, as you know, when you create your own timeline and you have your own business, that's great. But no one's pushing you other than you. Mm-hmm. So.
And you're like, la, 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 la.
Right. Exactly. Oh, let me go ahead and learn about all this other dumb shit that I didn't need to learn about. Anything to divert from what I originally planned. Yeah. Because that's the scary part.
Now I'm going to hit you with the question of all the questions that I was about to ask you. So how can people get a hold of you?
However, I will say this. It's not like my website is like missing information. It just has, when I created it literally fucking, I don't know, within a year of leaving corporate America. So my brain was still in corporate land. And then on top of it, during that time frame, like I was preoccupied. We had 2 dogs that were going through health issues and they eventually passed that year. So it's like my brain just wasn't in it. I just wasn't fucking in it. So it's not like the information on there isn't relevant. It is, but my website is Stay Golden Jaclyn, JACLYN.com. My creative outlet is TikTok. I'm on TikTok. My username is Jaclyn Brown. Again, no funny characters or anything like that. I don't have a niche. I just talk about random shit that pops in my head, and that's me. And then other than that, on my website, my email address will be on there. You can just email me directly. And then I have an art shop, which is Jaclyn, Jaclyn Kane, Kane Creations.com. And that's been on pause too with new shit, because guess what? I'm overwhelmed by all the things. So that's what currently exists. I plan to post more there. I plan to update my website. I plan to do all the things, but you can find me any of those ways.
Oh, I fucking love this. I'm so happy that we got to do this. And what I would like to do, I want to first thank you for coming in. I want to thank you, and I know I thanked you for this before, but thank you for all the support that you gave me as someone that dealt with addiction. Because when I came out and said, hey, I'm an addict, and I checked myself into a holistic rehab. The reason why I haven't been on social media for 30 days is because that's where I was. And people were surprised. Some people unfriended because of it. But you always stayed the same. You were like, it's okay. Like, I'm proud of you because you did this. And so I want to tell you thank you again. Very much so.
And I am proud of you. I'm really proud of you. And I have been proud of you. And see, here's me crying. It's the first cry of the day at 1:49 my time. I'm really fucking proud of you. And Tammy I have seen a transformation in her that it is so great to see. And I know she would say the same about me, because we just both have a different comfortability with ourselves. And Tammy has always, my entire life, been kind and sweet and just accommodating and just always so friendly. And it's so nice to see her realize her full potential and understand what an impact you have on people. So I want to thank you for continuing to be my friend and for continuing to teach me, because honestly, you're the one who's fucking inspiring me to get my shit back in order. Like, again, I have a podcast too. Am I fucking working on it? No, but I thought, okay, I need her to fucking motivate me. So I'm going to go on your podcast to get me to fucking do shit again. But I just want you to know that your mentality and your outlook has been really helpful for me. in times when I was not feeling positive and all of that. And I want to thank you for all the times that you inspired me and pulled me out of a real fucking shit spot.
Aw, look at us.
I
Two
know.
fucking bitches up here
You
crying.
cry, fucking baby bitches.
Cry, baby. Dude, you know, like, oh, man.
And I really, that's another thing too, is I'm really trying to be more intentional about, like, you know, if I have time to talk to my friends and just really let them know. And because I think of, you know, all these great things about my brother that people never told him while he was here, you know? And so I always have that in the back of my head, that people always joke around, like my birthday posts or my whatever are always like yearbook things, because they're always so, oh, I remember this, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, I understand how important that is to make sure someone knows that, because I didn't get to do that. And so I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you so much. I had to let you. And, you know, it's the thing of that, it's like being cut from the same cloth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That experience when you, I think that when you lose a family member, yes, we understand. But when you lose a sibling, one thing that I have to put out here to the audience, Jackie and I both lost our younger siblings.
Yeah.
For both of us, our siblings should be the ones that outlive us.
Yeah.
And we sit here today and we honor our siblings by speaking their names and speaking how, not only how we miss them, but how they were good people, even though they had challenges just like everybody else. So in honor of our siblings, I speak their names.
Yep.
Marc Kane, you will be forever missed. Crystal Lyons, you will be forever missed. And I want everybody to know, remember, your healing journey is fucking yours.
Yeah.
Do not let anyone tell you how to make your journey work for you. You have people in the world that are coaches, that are loving, that are all kinds of things. But you always have to remember, honor it.
Yeah.
Embrace it.
Yeah.
And keep showing up. Jackie, so much love to you, and thank you for coming on today.
Thank you. It was, I always love talking to you, but now it's just recorded and everyone can listen to our combo. And that's what they sound like, so here we are.
And guys, thank you for listening to RLP is Healing. And I will be seeing you next time. Happy healing.